Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Answer the Call. Today's topic is going to be the Star Citizen solo experience. My camera may look a little different. I'm a little bit farther back, but that should get fixed for next week. But yeah, so today I'm just going to discuss a little bit about how my experience is in with the solo experience, but not only that, also how I feel Star Citizen is developing for the solo experience. I actually had a really hard time trying to figure out what the title of this was going to be, because the title's a little bit weird. Because I like the titles to be like more polarizing or whatever. But anyway, I'm gonna preface this discussion with I know that the AI are barely in the game, right? They don't function, and a lot of our solo experience is going to be interacting with NPCs. Okay, so that's something I'm fully aware of. I know that a lot of gameplay systems are not in the game, which would enhance the solo player experience. I'm aware of that. But I also know a few other things. That there are 135 ships that have been sold or are known. So that includes like the F8 Lightning, stuff like that hasn't really been sold but are available on people's accounts. Those are ships and ground vehicles. And 52 of those ships, of those 135 ships and ground vehicles, are single-seater ships that also have a quantum drive. 52. So that's 38.5% of those ships. So over 1/3 of the ships are single-seater and have a quantum drive. So would kind of provide a player with a single-player experience. Okay? Now, there are ships that have multiple seats, but that also doesn't mean that you wouldn't use those as just a solo player playing by yourself. Okay? I also put out a tweet, and I will link to that in the description below, where I put a poll out, and I asked players in, using hashtag Star Citizen, so hopefully getting as many people as I could on that tweet, and I'll actually take a quick look at it right now. But the last I looked at it was you had two choices. You can either play as, I asked, how do you plan on playing Star Citizen, as mostly a solo player or mostly with your friends and a multi-group player? And 63%, granted, there are only 156 votes, 63% said mostly solo. Now we're talking about 2/3. We're getting close to, just under 2/3 of the people that voted said that they will mostly play solo. And there were even some comments on it. That, they're surprised at the percentage of solo players. And, some people wanted like an in-between, but I thought I wanted to say, are you going to play as a solo player mostly, or are you going to play as a multiplayer mostly? Not the in-betweeners. They're still going to be mostly one side or the other. No one's going to be 50%, most likely. Yeah, and so it was actually not surprising to me that most of the people are solo players. I mean, just being a Star Citizen streamer, a lot of people come in and say, can I fly this ship solo? Can I do this solo? I see that a lot. So that actually didn't surprise me too much. So I think you can kind of see what I'm getting at here. A good portion of the ships are single-seater or could be flown solo. Like, I completely omitted something like the Cutlass Black because it has 2 seats. So there are ships that are absolutely still solo ships. Even the Super Hornet is omitted from that 38.5%. So there are lots of other ships that are still kind of solo player ships, but could be played with a friend or an NPC or whatever. My next point of contention is quantum travel times. This will also be linked in the description below. I have an image of the quantum travel times, where as of 3.3.6, I couldn't find any other images of 3.4.1, which is where we are, but I imagine that they're fairly close to the same times. The fastest size 1 quantum drive, which is on most solo player ships, from Port Olisar to Hurston is 10 minutes and 49 seconds. 10 minutes and 49 seconds. To get from the 2 planets that are basically closest to each other. Out of all the planets in Star Citizen right now. That's a lot. Okay? Those are the 2 inner planets, exactly. The next thing is general fuel mechanics, and this came from the fuel design post on the Star Citizen website that will also be linked in the description, is combat and short-range ships, which I think most of those 38.5% of ships fall in, are the in-game equivalent of a carrier-based ship such as the Gladius and Hornet. These ships will not come with, nor have the ability to equip fuel intakes. Now, there were other categories as well there, where, let me scroll down and see them. There's also support, competition, industrial and transport, exploration. So there are some single-seater ships that do fall into those categories. All of those do have fuel scoops. But, the Gladius, the Hornet, the Super Hornet, any of those kind of combat short-range style ships are definitely going to be used as bounty hunting ships. And are definitely going to travel via quantum drive and are definitely going to boost when PvPing. And with the current implementation of fuel, that is not a good experience for a single person, right? Because you're constantly running out of fuel, constantly having to refuel it. And you know, if you're far away from a quantum travel location, you're in a ship that has one of the slowest quantum travel drives. So, for me, I think the Star Citizen solo player experience is sorely lacking. And I did preface at the start that part of it is because we don't have NPCs to interact with. Part of it is because some of these gameplay systems are not in. For example, even just the flight model, not the newest flight model not being in, could be an issue here. As well as the proper fuel mechanics that I'm reading on the fuel design post. But for me, it's more the travel times and how they kind of want to do fuel a little bit that I have some issues with. I think a majority of the community is probably going to play as a solo player. Reasons being, they can only afford a solo ship, right? Ships cost money. Other reasons being people that, and this was posted in the Twitch chat earlier when I was sharing a little bit of what the topic was going to be today. Somebody posted in Twitch chat, some of the reasons why he's only playing solo is because his friends don't have Star Citizen. And the reason your friends may not have Star Citizen is because it may require a pretty good computer to play. Not every person has a quad-core computer with 16 gigs of RAM, right? And an SSD. Not everybody has that. You know, this isn't... this game doesn't share the same requirements as, like, League of Legends or CSGO. So it's not as easily accessible. So a lot of players want to play solo, whether it's with an NPC crew or whatever, right? Most of the Star Citizen community is a little bit older. So it's an experience where, you know, you may be married, you may have children, you don't have your gamer buds that you played with, you know, in college or in high school, right? So there's lots of reasons why a lot of people would be playing without friends and playing solo and interacting with NPCs only and blah, 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 blah. And for me, I think the development of the game so far, with regards to the current gameplay implementations and specifically the travel times, is really taking away from the solo experience. So this is sort of I feel like this is gonna turn into a travel time discussion, but I really want this discussion to be geared towards something in particular, and that is, how do we improve the Star Citizen solo experience going forward? Because this year, coming in 2019, I expect to see a lot more gameplay elements come into the game, a lot more of the groundwork being built out in Star Citizen of our game that we're excited about. And I am concerned that the solo player experience may not be as enjoyable as it possibly could be. Okay? So the discussion topic really is today is, what is your solo experience, and how do you want it to be? And if you don't like it, how do we improve it? If you agree with me, how do we improve it from there? For me, I think the improvement is cutting the travel times in half. I think 5 minutes is perfectly fine for a travel time. Like 5 minutes in a solo ship and 3 minutes in a large ship is good. And someone's mentioning in Twitch chat, can the solo experience be as enjoyable as possible without detracting from the multiplayer experience? Of course it should be, right? Of course it should be. But I do not want this to be a travel times discussion too much. I really want this to be, what is the Star Citizen solo experience to you, and how can we make it better going forward in 2019? All right. So we have our first caller in line right now, and his name is iddkfa. He's a fairly regular caller, and yeah, IDD, you're on Answer the Call. What's up, man?
Hey everybody, hi Twerk.
Hello.
I'm actually talking about traveling time.
Really?
Little bit.
Yeah, I think it's
But
relevant,
also
but
have a solution.
yeah, like I think it's relevant to the conversation, but at the same time, that's not today's topic. It's the solo experience, you know? So I may
Yeah, I
be
gotcha.
keeping you guys in line a little bit more today than I normally do.
Yeah.
And on topic or whatever. So go ahead. What's the Star Citizen solo experience to you, and how can we make it better going forward?
So I've picked a topic I feel very strongly about in general, and it's also something that I think does affect the solo player's gameplay experience a lot.
Okay.
And that's CIG's quantum travel design choice.
Yeah.
That might be a topic on its own one day, because
Yeah.
I think it causes a lot more issues.
Yeah.
But yeah, so how does it affect the solo players? Judging from most other MMOs, solo players represent the largest groups of players with shorter game time sessions.
Yes.
And the choice CIG made is that you travel faster the larger your quantum drive is, and usually you'll find the larger drives on the larger ships. But those ships are made for multi-crew gameplay.
Which
You
you're
can
playing with your
fly.
friends, yeah.
Yes. You can fly and operate some of them for professions like cargo hauling, but I think it's a no-no for most other professions, because other professions seem to need more coordination and reason to man the various consoles or stations on a ship, right? I think it's likely that solo players will stick to ships up to the Cutlass or Freelancer or something in that range. And the quantum travel design makes their Star Citizen world appear to be smaller than it actually has to be because of the travel time. If you only have an hour or two to play, spending a lot of time traveling is not really great.
Especially
And I
with
think
the quantum travel design, like you said, where the quantum travel design right now is you're stuck. There's nothing to do. It's just a visual in front of your face the entire time, right? And like, I think we can both agree that eventually there'll probably be like anomalies or something that pops up during quantum travel that you can like choose to pop out and go explore, which is why I kind of preface the show with, obviously there's some systems that aren't in the game yet that could improve on the solo experience. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to interject there and make that point. But continue.
Yeah, and we see the negative effects in just the current single system we have right now. So traveling from Crusader to Hearthstone, like you said, takes 10 to 50 minutes for the smaller ships. And now imagine you have multiple systems, and just think about, you have a short stream, 1 hour stream, and you just want to go from one system to another. If you have a short amount of time to actually play the game, I don't think you should spend it or spend a lot of time on just traveling from one place to another, because that's not really gameplay.
I'll give a really good example of why, and this isn't actually where this topic came from. It just popped in my head now. Is there's another series that's going to be going on this YouTube channel, and that's the Aurora to Minor kind of Star Citizen Let's Play, and the amount of editing of travel times that I'm going to have to do, the editing out of travel times to keep the content somewhat interesting and not putting people to sleep is insane. Right? I'm going to have to remove hours for a 20-minute video. That's not
just
good.
because you go from one system to another, or you just the amount of time it takes to get down to a planet and all of that. And my favorite argument I hear from CIG is, well, you have long travel times, but during those travel times, you can maintain your ship and play mini games or table games. Well, how's that going to work for a single-seater ship? That's no option.
Yeah, exactly. That's
And
more, and like you're saying, the multiplayer experience, those players are going to be playing longer. They're sitting down for a session with their friends. But like I keep going back to this, is most of the Star Citizen community is older. They have a job, they have children, they have a wife. They don't have all this time. Most games you can pop in, play for an hour, and progress in the game. Where in Star Citizen, if you only have an hour, you may not make it to the next destination you were trying to get to long term, you know?
yes. And also playing with friends makes every downtime in the game much more enjoyable.
Yes. Absolutely.
So what I think CIG should do, and that would fix what I think are other issues with the design as well, is flip the design. Make smaller ships travel faster. I know it's not realistic because you have the larger engine, you should travel faster, but it's a game after all. And I think you should travel faster, and especially for solo players, like I mentioned, are usually those who have shorter game time sessions. They actually get more gameplay out of it.
I disagree with you about the flipping it. I just think I just don't think that there's a difference between a 10-minute travel time to Hurston and a 5-minute travel time to Hurston. It still shows you that you're traveling a long distance. It still gives you that feeling. So 5 minutes for a single-seater ship really isn't that bad compared to 10, but it still shares with you that you're traveling far. You still feel immersed that space is big, right? And you could still be interdicted and all that stuff. Because there's still plenty of time.
To a degree, I think, because travel times add up. And
of course, but 5 minutes is definitely different than 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
That's why because in a multi-crew ship, you have a lot more things to do, right? And you have a lot more options. Like I said, you can solo a freelancer, but you can't operate the freelancer to its fullest potential. So if you get attacked, you actually have to make the choice. do I run from it or do I take my chances?
Yeah.
And if you play with friends, it's more likely than you are able to defend yourself.
Yeah, because they can, mess with the power and the shields, and you have a turret gunner, and maybe you can eject your cargo one day. All that kind of stuff. Yeah. But
Yeah.
all right, IDD, I'll let you go, and we'll bring in our next caller. But yeah, I mean, you make some really good points, especially about the the solo player likely would have less time to play, and I never kind of thought about
Yes,
that,
absolutely.
you know. And I don't think we need to just like say, okay, like what I was saying, that the Star Citizen community has older players, they may not have a lot of time, blah 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 blah. They need to design this game to make it as fun as possible in general. But they also, I think, need to be more aware that the Star Citizen experience for a lot of people are not going to be as many multi-crew experiences as I think a lot of people think. Maybe with voice over IP being implemented, that we're going to start seeing more of that. People are going to make friends with each other in the game and everything, and then you're going to start playing more multi-crew, and the travel times will be less detrimental. Um, and the experience for them will be enhanced. But I still think a solid, fun solo player experience, just pop in the game, hang out, relax, travel some cargo, maybe run some bounties or whatever, is something that I think a lot of people want and a lot of people would enjoy. But it's just, if I have to spend 40 minutes of my 2 hours in quantum travel, there's no way that that's good design, you know? Um,
Right.
or not just that. I mean, we're not just talking about that in general. I'm gonna keep, because now I'm getting off topic and getting into the travel times. So I'm gonna let you go, and we're gonna bring in
Um,
Caman, and we're gonna talk about the solo experience with him. I'm gonna try and stay on topic. It's so hard because the solo travel times, it's just such an effect on it, you know?
yeah, I gotcha. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
All right, IDD. Be good, buddy.
Later.
Bye. Oh, hold on. Before I bring in Caman, we got to change the scene. Bam. Damn it, Twitch. It broke everything. All right, Caman, you're on Answer the Call. I may not be super, super duper attentive. I'm going to do my best to bring this back here.
Oh, good morning, Torque.
Good
Can you hear
morning.
me?
I can hear you just fine. There you go. We're back.
Okay. This is a very important topic, and again, I
Very.
don't play the alpha, so my points will be more speculative and future focused rather than in review of the current state of the game.
Okay.
So I agree with the notion that a lot of people in the community, myself included, are going to want to solo either under an alternate account, similar to what you do in your Scam Citizen account, which is, by the way, hilariously ironic, or as a core play preference. I
Yeah.
get this sense that there's a silent, I don't want to say majority, but certainly a sizable portion of the community who, like myself and like you and others, um, want solo play to be the core of their experience and have their concerns with whether or not CIG can do it right. So this is high stakes, and the pressure
Yep.
is really on them to succeed in this, because if they don't, they're going to seriously disappoint a lot of people. But if they do, I think Star Citizen as a game will absolutely carve out a decisive niche for itself in the genre. So when I think of the solo experience, I think it's held up by three major pillars:
Okay.
NPC crews,
Yes.
the mission system, and the profession gameplay. In theory, all of these systems should end up working together to create gameplay with varying degrees of risk that will appeal to a broad spectrum of players. And because these three systems are so deeply intertwined with the high level design premise of the game, succeeding in developing those pillars properly means that the solo experience will benefit by proxy. So for me, it's not really a matter of CIG needing to pay specific attention to solo players as much as it is a matter of them needing to perfect the systems underlying the gameplay itself. So when
Yeah.
I think again of a solo player in Star Citizen, I don't just think of a quote unquote casual player, of any one specific type of player for that matter. I
Not at
see
all.
the possibility for really an unprecedented range of solo players with completely different goals, all in theory being accommodated by a system that is hopefully capable of providing, the variation and procedural content and gameplay that keeps their experience interesting. So based on successfully developing those systems, there should, in my opinion, be a wide array of what's considered possible for solo play. So for example, let's delve into the imagination meme, and I can see, like a mom or dad, a casual player or a professional enjoying their one quiet evening of the week doing light industry or solo exploration in safe space, just as much as I can see a hardcore intelligence agent looking to broadcast, fleet movements or hot targets or engage in high risk solo recon or espionage
And you
with
can even flip
e-warfare.
their real life experiences, But yeah,
What do you mean by that?
like I don't know. I shouldn't have interrupted, but the mom and dad could be that person, the hardcore
Oh yeah,
player.
yeah,
And
absolutely. Yeah, I see
and
what you mean.
yeah, and since I interrupted, I might as well just say this already. The like the a solo player can absolutely be super hardcore with the fact that um I imagine a very hardcore solo player would be a bounty hunter. And one of the major issues already is again going back to the travel time design is a bounty hunter or a mercenary or a pirate is likely going to be trying to chase somebody in multi-crew ships that has lots of loot, and you can't catch them because they quantum travel so much faster than you. Like that, it's just I don't know if the thought has been put into it as much. I know we're in still like a first implementation type of situation, but like the
Yeah,
solo
it's
player
difficult.
experience is so important.
It is, and it's difficult for me to address your authentic rant-filled tangents because I don't play the alpha, so I can't really speak on that state of the game, and I can't really riff off of your insights. I'm just going to take it for what it is at face
Yeah.
value, but point taken. But speaking of pirates, that's another example. A solo player can shadow the movements of a pirate fleet to scavenge from their raids under the cover of the chaos, or be privately contracted to function as a solo decoy to metagame skirmishes between dueling organizations. So a lot of this is speculative, and I understand that, but it's certainly not outside the realm of possibility based on what we know about the potential for emergent gameplay. And my next point is, we know that at least we have on good authority that players will be able to hire 100% NPC crews, and this is huge. It opens up multi-crew gameplay to solo players, and it gives solo players an option to bypass, to some extent, the restrictions of smaller quantum drives. It addresses some of the concerns regarding travel times and smaller ships because they can just progress to a larger ship as their core ship with the confidence that they can competently manage on their own with the assistance of an NPC crew. It won't be one-to-one competitive with a full combine of skilled human players, and I'm not claiming it should be, but it still provides that pathway for progression to increase their profits, their gameplay access to various gameplay, and their transit efficiency. So,
and a solo player, if they wanted to be because you make an amazing point there, and I just want to add to it is if a solo player wanted to be that hardcore guy and get into multi crew hard min maxing, they obviously wouldn't be using an NPC crew, but the mechanics are in the game already or coming into the game more properly, like with voice over IP and Spectrum and these other things, and just the regular in-game chat to crew his ship with real players, make friends. If he wanted to really min-max in his multi-crew ship, he could make the effort to, because the Star Citizen has put those systems in there. If he wanted to just play by himself and play with the NPCs, he most likely wouldn't be as concerned with min-maxing that ship, right?
They may be concerned with min-maxing the ship, just not in the same ways, because they can't do it in the same ways
with
that a
the
human
NPC
crew would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And
Yeah.
I see NPC crews as a bridge as well. If
Yeah.
you want to practice multi-crew, but you don't want to be humiliated, it's a great entry point. You can
course.
pick a bunch of NPCs, you can train yourself. So I see that as pivotal. Subsumption is a huge thing, and it underpins all of that.
Yeah.
So while travel times will certainly shape the content preferences for solo players starting out, they have that pathway there to gradually progress out of that limitation.
Yeah.
I think that NPC crew effectiveness might hit diminishing returns as the ship gets larger and larger, like capital level, because
Mhm.
there'll be exponentially more emergent scenarios that can arise. And I imagine it would be really difficult for CIG to program AI that can, intelligently handle all of that on top of all the other server side things that need to be streamed through. But another point I want to make is the game, at least to my understanding, won't restrict solo players in the same way many other MMOs do. There are no swirling instanced barriers or Gandalf moments where the game goes, oh, I'm sorry, you shall not pass because you don't have a raid group of 25 people with a gear score of blah, blah, blah. Yes, of course, you'll need appropriately sized groups and coordination to engage certain objectives and succeed, but that isn't the point. There won't be any real hard barriers restricting access to content based on group size, based on the fact that you're a solo player, at least not to my understanding. Yeah, there'll
Not
be
that
reputation or guild membership. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, not that Star Citizen directly develops into the game. I think, larger orgs and stuff like that may create those situations for you, but yeah. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
orgs like Test or these just like massive orgs, like they're going to lock down areas as best they can.
Well, that's not
That's not really the point you're
that's
making?
outside of the point that I was making, because
Okay.
I'm going to touch on that a bit, but basically you're saying emergent gameplay, there's going to be emergent gameplay scenarios where sometimes certain orgs that are very powerful will control areas, but that's not the same thing as creating artificial restrictions based on instance size that are hardcore designed, like hard coded into the game. So it doesn't really, that's not really within the realm of what I
Yeah.
was trying to say.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I think there'll be reputation or guild membership requisites to do certain content, and
Okay.
that kind of will be the gate. But that's, again, not group size. The game is not going, I see that you're in a solo ship, I'm gating you from this content. So that's the point I'm trying to make. And this is really, really important. So if I want, I can take my baby pilot's first little noob Aurora on a desperate and deliberate voyage across space and commit to the extraordinary time to do so, to reach Pyro or some other
Yep.
insanely dangerous system, to say hello to a roaming kingship and die instantly. And that's pretty magical. And I'm being serious.
Yeah,
That's
oh, I
magical.
know. Yeah.
And having that type of freedom has an interesting effect on solo players. In my experience, it actually encourages them to group up spontaneously more often. So it's a bridge mechanic for socialization. A good example is the rift mechanic in ESO. Back when I played it, rifts from the Daedric plane basically would spawn from the sky, and it would tear into Tamriel, and it starts spawning all these demons, and half the server would just zerg those areas. Like, it was spectacular. It gave me
Yeah.
goosebumps every time it happened, because it was this amazing sort of moment where a huge portion of the community spontaneously came together, to achieve a common goal. And we talked a while back about dynamic events in the PU. Well, I think that by providing that type of content in combination with giving solo players that level of freedom to recklessly access content they probably shouldn't, it will actually enrich their experiences. It'll make their decisions more meaningful. It'll support that whole tactical experience that they're aiming for.
Okay.
And I want to point out tier 0 mining in the prospector. I think that people sleep on this. You don't, but I think that people do. It's been in the game for a while. I understand that it's kind of passe to talk about, but I think that it's relevant because, to me, it's a pretty solid proof of concept if you think about it. It demonstrates that the designers know how to make good solo ship gameplay, and therefore it foreshadows similarly good solo ship gameplay for future professions. I think it's reasonable to expect salvaging, for example, to be just as complex and engaging in the Vulture in its tier 0 implementation as mining currently is. And I suspect they've already laid a lot of the technical groundwork with the existing mining and the mining UI and the tractor system, the physics with how all that works. So if it's going to be technically similar, then I think that they have a good portion of that work done, or they at least have some of the technical concept on the back end done already to make that process better.
Excellent point.
And then I'll end it here, even though I have a lot of other points that I would want to make. But my last point that I want to touch on
Well, we only have
is
2 other
the
callers, so if you want to, you can make your other points quick, and we'd be fine.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to talk about the mission system because that was one of the
I think
pillars
that's
I had
very important
mentioned.
to talk about. Yeah.
Yes, and we talked about a few weeks ago about how the mission system would have access to modifiers like environmental factors. Like you and I talked about how. Remember when they talked about how being in a certain, well, they didn't talk about this, but I interpreted this from what
Mhm.
they are saying, basically how if you're mining in a certain environment with a prospector and it's a really unstable atmospheric condition or something like that, that can add a level of skill cap to the gameplay. That's
Okay.
just in your prospector. So I feel like the mission system having access to these different factors, environmental factors, and having access to the supply demand economy simulation, determining resource values and mission locations, and how all of that plugs into the security level of different zones, you end up with a gameplay system, again, that has all these different varying degrees of risk and difficulty that appeals to a broad spectrum of the very casual to the very, very hardcore. And it casts this really large net around a huge portion of the player base. It touches on a wide array of gameplay aspirations. So I think that's a big deal. And a lot of hardcore players are going to enjoy the risk and the challenge of going solo just as much as the casual player is going to enjoy the convenience and independence of being solo. So they need to make that work. And I will just go to my last point because I
Yeah,
feel
it's
like
fine.
I'm talking too much. But it is that I want to touch again on the financial future of CIG because I think it's an important topic and it could potentially factor into this.
Okay.
Earlier, I was pretty optimistic kind of in my assessment here and like the whole imagination meme that I was doing. But I'm going to be a bit more cynical and say that whether CIG can come through for solo players will not be based on design limitations. I think they have all the design capability they need to get the job done, to get it done well.
Okay.
I can explain that to the moon and back. I think it's pretty clear evidence of that. I believe the main obstacle for the solo experience being successful will be their monetization strategy. And the reason why I say
Yeah.
that, and this seems cynical and borderline conspiratorial, fine, you can drag me if you'd like, but the fact of the matter is that the CIG as a private business is still a business. They'll need to look for a way to keep revenue streams healthy and pay back their investors. And my concern isn't exactly that they'll be brazenly greedy and, you know, rub their hands together like Mr. Burns and try to
Why would
rob
they
us.
ever do
But
that?
I know, right? But I am still worried that the very real pressures to establish a solid monetization strategy post-release may seep into the design or the balance decisions in
It
a way that
already is.
overly neuters.
It
Okay,
already is. Right? The way they fund the game has already affected the design of the game.
well, I'm talking about a way that will neuter the solo ship capability away from the direction that I've implied it should go, based on my understanding of the mechanics. So, it's an enduring concern that I have, and I don't want them to go in that direction. We see that capital ships tend to generate lots of hype. It gobbles up when they sell these ships, it generates a lot of revenue. It generates a lot of press and
Yeah.
a lot of attention. And I just don't. I see so much potential for this game and for the solo play as I've talked about, accommodating so many different types of players and bridging the connections between players in ways that are really significant and unprecedented. And to me, it would be the greatest tragedy to see that design ultimately fail and fall short because they lack money. So I really want them to succeed with selling Squadron and getting the revenue they need to justify that investment and to
Well,
make their private board members happy so that they are not incentivized to do that.
yeah. I mean, I really hope that cosmetics will be the thing. Personally, come closer to release of the game, and hopefully that can carry things on. But I don't know. That's one that we'll have to see a few years from now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but very good points, Caman, as always. And no, you didn't talk too much. I know you're now, um, like aware of it every time or whatever, but it's not. You're
Yeah,
good,
I
man.
can't get it out of my head now. I feel
I'm
bad for
sorry.
calling and it's your fault.
No, it is my fault. I put it in your head. You're a great call as always, dude. For real. You made some really, really good points, specifically about mining.
Thanks.
They
Yeah,
already have
thanks.
one really, really good implementation in. All right, man.
Yeah. Thanks. Good
Have a
talking
good
to
one,
you. Take
and I'm
care.
sure we'll talk to you next week.
All right. See you.
All right, and our next caller is C Dizzle. Hopefully this doesn't screw up again. It should just work this time. There we go. C Dizzle, you're on Answer the Call. Welcome.
Hey,
what's up, buddy?
not a whole lot. So on this whole single player thing, to IDD's point about most single player people are going to spend significantly less time in game than multi-crew people.
Yeah.
That's what your smaller in-system missions are going to be for, right? Like, you can't really expect people to be wanting to go from 1-star system to like 20 star systems away and have the shorter gameplay that a multi-crew ship would have. Like, that's just unreasonable.
Okay.
You're really gonna have to want to grind out those smaller missions or position yourself in a spot that has a lot of
money to be
close-in
made or
missions.
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's really only going to be a handful of ships that could support that type of low available time play. Like, go here and kill these mercenaries, fly back, collect money, go here, mine this, fly back, get money, take cargo from A to B, get money. I just think it's really unreasonable to think those larger scale missions should be available for people with a limited amount of time to play.
Okay, that's actually a really good point, that that you might want to find a system that works for you and make money there. And again, a lot of those systems are probably going to have unique places, and like we can look at the Stanton system now and we end up going to really cool, fantastic places that all look very different from one another. So like your visual experience is still very rewarding while traveling in a quote unquote small area for Star Citizen, right? But somebody else points out in Twitch chat, Meatball for You says, but that does cut out a lot of trading routes. And, there are a lot of ships that have cargo hauling capabilities that are more geared towards solo players. So, I mean, how do you feel about that? Because I think a lot of people would want to play solo and run cargo, me included. I'm definitely one of those people. So if I have even a Cutlass Black or an Aurora or something smaller, that kind of cuts out that gameplay for me. Maybe, is traveling from one system to another, like let's say 10 systems away, to really make a good profit. That still might be worth the trip then.
Yeah, of course, but you're gonna have to budget your time appropriately.
Yeah, and I guess this will go back into the travel times discussion, is, what's reasonable and what's not. And I think everyone's opinion is going to be a little bit different on what's reasonable amount of time to travel from one place to another. I see it in the Twitch chat while we're having this discussion as it is already today. But, is it reasonable for an Aurora to take an hour to get from one system to another, maybe? Or, I don't know. It's up to them ultimately to choose how this stuff is going to work. But I really wanted to make sure we put this show out and get as many opinions as possible out there, to maybe hope one of them does hear it and maybe designs a little
answers the call.
Yeah, answers the call, exactly. But yeah, I think actually, you make a really good point. Is most likely a solo player will pop in, hang out in the system they're currently in, make their money, and then log off for the night.
Yeah.
But is that the experience? Okay, now here, I'll flip it on you. Is that the experience that you would want to have in Star Citizen if you only had a limited amount of time? I know that's not the experience I would want to have. I would want to travel from system to system and see different NPCs and different experiences within my hour or two, right? And I think that that's reasonable to ask to have that.
On a universal scale game, though?
But okay, but it's 1,000 years in the future, and we should be able to. We're starting to expand out into the universe, and we have been for some time in the lore of the game.
Is there supposed to be like wormholes or anything like that in this game?
There's jump points, yeah.
So like I could see jump points being some sort of alleviation of pain there, but or maybe there's only certain types of ships that can travel those things, and you have to park your little dinky slow ship on that ship, and then it can transport your ship to somewhere else, and then you can do that.
And that's my issue right there. Is I think a lot of the solo single player ships are like kind of trying to be forced into that situation where it's like, oh, I have to put my small ship on your big ship to be able to travel from here, there, and everywhere a little bit faster. But then you're not, now I'm not being a solo player. Maybe we can hire an NPC to do it.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I was like talking
Yeah.
about. Like it would be like an NPC like cargo ship. Like if I run a box truck company in Colorado and I want to deliver food goods around Colorado, but I want to expand my business internationally and I want to deliver from Colorado to England, I can't freaking drive there.
Yeah. You have to put your
I
stuff
need,
on a boat.
yeah,
You don't own a boat.
not yet.
Yeah. So, okay.
But I mean, like there has to be a reason for people to play together, or everyone would only play solo. So there has to be an advantage there. And the way I currently see them implementing things with like the NPC crew members and things like that, those are all great things. And I definitely agree with the last guy that was on. Those certainly should be there, and that's going to be a huge step for Star
Yeah.
Citizen. But even those things, the way that they're built, are set to make multi-crew people outscale solo players, because there's the initial cost of hiring them and then the cost of the upkeep for them. So you're still kind of screwing yourself by not playing with other people. And if that's how you want to play, hell yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I plan on having a few ships that I have plenty of NPC crews on. But I just don't think it's reasonable to expect that they should have the same type of play.
I'm
or
not
anything
saying
like
the
that
same
for a
experience.
multiplayer game.
Yeah, I'm definitely not saying that they should have the same experience, but I don't think that I feel like some of the ways that they're developing the game currently almost locks them out a bit too much. Is that more of a fair way to
I see what
say
you're
it?
saying.
Is I think it's preventing them from enjoying the game as much as they are. And to go back to what one of Caman's other points is this is so important because as new players come into the game and start experiencing it, their initial experience is going to be solo, most likely, right? Unless they found out the game from a friend, which, as of right now, that's a lot of the way the game is being marketed is through word of mouth. So maybe they did hear it from a friend. But I think most new players' experiences from this point forward, because the game is starting to sell itself as something interesting and fun and exciting to do, are going to create this problem where a new player comes in the game and is like, what do I do? How do I do it? Why did it just take me 20 minutes to get from one place to another? You know, why are these missions the way they are? Blah, 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 blah. So there's obviously that's where we are right now. Okay.
Yeah, new player experience is a completely different answer to the call.
Exactly. And we've already done that one. But
Yeah.
the solo experience is also part of the new player experience, right? So it does have to be a little bit quicker, a little bit more engaging, as tactile as possible, a lot more going on. And then you can get into the fact that, like, the game is straight up beautiful. The ships are beautiful. I'm moving around and walking around in my ship after I've experienced it for a little bit longer, right? So, the solo experience is much more important to me to be engaged more often all the time, not traveling as much, or just always having something to do early on. Or just in general in the solo experience to keep you engaged, because there's no one else that you're talking to. You don't have as many things to do because, again, like that multi-crew situation where you're maybe repairing some components inside the ship, like that's not happening in a solo ship, right? You have to land and go repair and all these things. So, of course, the solo player experience should absolutely be different than the multi-crew experience, because the multi-crew experience is, it's with friends. It's just different. It's always going to be. But I just want to make sure that it doesn't feel as engaging as it could be, you know?
And I think a big differentiation point here is when you're talking about the solo player experience, are you talking about devoid of multiplayer
No,
completely?
not
Because I could
necessarily.
see a lot of solo players picking up like pickup group style missions, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm on Olisar and I need a crew to help me out to go down to this planet on a
Or even
FPS mission or some shit
even a
like that,
bunch of
right?
single seater ships, right? That all get together. We have those missions in game already. The like the ECN missions, I think, or some of the mercenary missions where everybody meets at like a quantum buoy or whatever, and then once they all get there, the mission actually starts. And then you go and you kill NPCs. Like those missions already exist in the game. It's just making sure that that gameplay is added to the game and making it fun, right? Is what
Yeah.
I'm looking for, because it doesn't just have to be about the travel times. It's making sure you think about those missions. Like, okay, how do I make missions more fun for a person who only has a single seater ship? How do we do we make this like really challenging mission where single seater ships have to get together, or how do we make having an NPC crew interesting, engaging, and fun? Because obviously you have to keep them happy and feed them and pay them and all those things, right? That experience can be fun. It just we have to make sure that it is. That's the
Because
point I'm trying to make.
the only reason I was asking about that differentiation thing is because a game of this scale, I do not see any way to play only solo without any sort of interaction or collaboration with other real life people.
I think you absolutely can though in this game. I disagree, because I mean you can do everything you possibly can to try to avoid real life players, and I think you can in this game.
But you're still always going to have to worry about other people. Like, let's say not even combat. Like, let's say you're a
Yeah,
miner. You're still going to have to compete with other people for mining spots,
maybe.
or even interact in a way like, okay, let's not fight. I'm going to mine this, you mine that, and then we'll both go our separate ways.
Yeah, and,
Like,
and and we'll make this last point, and then I'll bring in the next caller. But like maybe, because there's a good chance, I know we're maybe thinking too small here, that we end up with a few star systems, right? Multiple star systems. Let's say 40 at some point. That may be very very long from now, given how fast they're building them out right now. But maybe they'll have more environment artists, so on in the future. The the experience that I think could happen is you find your little corner of the verse, and you do some exploration and find an asteroid belt that's good enough for you, and you can avoid people if you wanted to, right? Even as a miner, or probably not as a cargo hauler, because obviously the good routes people are going to figure out. But finding a nice little asteroid belt, I think you can find one that no one's ever found before.
but even
And
then, you got to sell your minerals.
potentially, well, I think you'll have to sell something. Okay, here's what I'll give you the Star Citizen solo experience for me, in the of what you're like kind of saying, is that I can't avoid people at all costs. Is I travel out to some weird place that nobody goes, because there's nothing really good there. There's no good minerals there, whatever. And then I find a little asteroid belt out there that nobody's mining. It's got okay minerals that I can make some money off of, or I can make something out of. I have a little tiny outpost somewhere on a moon out in the middle of nowhere, near no major landing zones on that moon at all. You would have to search far and wide to find me, right? I plop
Mhm.
down my outpost. On that outpost, I have a refinery. I create from my minerals, I create usable metal. On that outpost, I have a factory of some sort that makes some sort of thing, right? Or I don't. Then NPC ships come down to my outpost and buy my metal and bring it out. I think that's something that can happen.
Yeah, but I mean that just kind of sounds like you're playing Farming Simulator at that point.
But some people want to play like that. Do I want to play like that? No, not necessarily. But some people absolutely want to play like that. And I don't think that they should not be able to.
I mean, I'd be really hard to disagree with. They shouldn't be able to.
Well, I think they will be able to.
I just don't think it's very in line with the rest of the game, is what I'm saying.
I agree, but they're also not engaging in the rest of the game, and that's fine. They're playing the game they want to. It's very in line with the Star Citizen experience, because the Star Citizen experience is you can do whatever you want to do and be whatever you want to. Build your own adventure, and if that's your own adventure, you should be able to do it, right? And they should be designing so you can do it, right? I mean, I don't think you can disagree with that.
No,
Are they designing so you can do it? We'll see. We'll
Certainly
see.
not yet.
Certainly not yet, and it may not be for a very long time, because you have to build it big enough and wide enough and to hide out in your own little spot, right? All right, anything else you want to add before I bring in ASN?
Nah, get me the hell out of here. Get some good opinions in here.
You actually had some really good ones, man. I was
Thank you.
pleasantly surprised, actually. I knew you would like that. No, I expected some really good stuff from you. Dizzle, thank you for calling in, man.
Yeah. Catch you later, pimp.
Later, dude. All right, that was C Dizzle, and we're gonna be bringing on another caller here. I thought he had a lot of really good points. And we're gonna shorten AtaSergeyNowak to ASN here for the overlay. But yeah, I mean, his points were really good, and I liked kind of where our discussion went, because it kind of took a little bit of what I said earlier and what IDD said and what Caman said, and kind of tied them all together, which was really nice. All right, ASN. ASN, you're on Answer the Call. What's up, man? How are you?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. I've actually gotten sleep. I'm getting used to my work schedule, and very, very happy.
I'm very happy for you, by the way, with the new work and the change in your life.
It's
because
great.
I kind of look back for a year and then remember the old times. So
yeah,
really happy for you, by the way.
The old times were pretty miserable, huh? When you really look back, I was pretty tired all the time, and just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Feeling good, man. Feeling good.
Well, that's good. I have a couple of opinions, but they're gonna be a bit different.
Okay, perfect.
So I look at I play a lot of single player games.
Yeah.
Like I'm a big fan of story games.
I love them.
I'm a big fan of the cool Telltale games like Tales from the Borderlands, Walking Dead. I'm a big fan of The Witcher 3. I'm a big fan of Fallout New Vegas.
Do you like Kingdom Come?
Games. Yeah, Kingdom Come too as
Come,
well.
great.
Although they still need that, that top, that 10% polish and improvement on the animation sound to get to the top league, but they're very close. I think Kingdom is very close of playing at the top league. Very great game. So I love those games, and the reason why I love those and why they end is what I want to tie into the Star Citizen solo experience.
So
when you play those games,
or why they end?
No, it's this is the thing. This is the part why the solo experience in Star Citizen can be superior to other solo experiences.
Okay.
And that's how I'm going to tie it to.
Okay.
So in single player games, you generally have a loop and you have activities and you do stuff. Sometimes, of course, some amazing story bits and whatnot, but they all end. And the reason why they end is they have a specific purpose. So they're designed to either tell a part of the story, introduce characters, introduce flow, or a certain activity or whatever. Mm-hmm. They all end because it's not dynamic content.
Okay.
And a lot of the story games are switching away from dynamic expression within. And that's why I'm a big fan and proponent of RPG games that are more open-ended within their storylines. So in Star Citizen, I think the advantage of the solo player should be in the final version or whatever version soon, TM, where whenever you do a solo activity, the influence of the world should somewhat influence your solo activity. So you don't feel like you're doing the same thing and getting the same results for a long time.
So
And
going
I'm
back
saying
to
this.
what C Dizzle was saying is, well, you would only be experiencing, you should be staying around one system, but the dynamic way that the systems may change economically, or a
Exactly.
pirate group might start taking over that system, your experience in that system may change as well.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So I want, like, the universe around you should support your solo experience, where you're saying,
Excellent
okay,
point.
I was mining here last week and I was getting this much, but since this corporation came in here and started refining these materials, this place isn't as profitable anymore.
Yeah.
So let me go around and find a new spot where I can make more money. Or I was trading here and now, like, piracy has gone up. Now this is gonna sound like a Tony Zurich speech, but and, like, like,
But he's the game designer, you know?
yeah,
Of
but it
course.
kind of ends up to the same, like, the roads lead to the same place. The solo experience is within a simulated universe. And that is why this solo experience is going to be a lot more different and unique compared to a lot of the other solo experiences. Because each time you're getting in, the variables are going to change.
Yep.
And, like, should change, even if it's a little bit or whatever. It should not be deterministic. It should be fluid. And that's why this solo experience has the better chance at being long lasting. The other part I want to talk about is, like, the solo experience currently in the game, as expected, is pretty lackluster
Yeah.
because of the reasons you mentioned.
But all of the
Even the
experiences in
PvP
game are lackluster.
experiences, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and I completely agree with that.
Except for
But,
mining. That's the only one that's not, honestly.
And why? And it's because each rock you go to has a different characteristic, and because it's so well
You're not sure what you're
designed
gonna find.
throughout. Exactly. It's you're not entering a set stage whenever you're mining, right? And that's what Star Citizen should be. It should be this breathing, alive thing. And no matter if you're solo or PvP, there should be different checks and balances reacting to you, and that's what's going to make Star Citizen fun. Even if it's a solo player. And on the previous discussion about multi-crew, I kind of like IDD's point about switching the travel times on bigger and smaller ships, but that's a bit a huge separate discussion. But I want to highlight something else about smaller ships, and I might be wrong on this, but last time I checked on the Arc Star map, I remember seeing that looking at the smaller ships having more capabilities of jumping in between systems in comparison to larger ships because of the wormhole sizes. I might be wrong on this.
Yes.
But
so
I think
there's 3 types of jump point sizes. And yeah, sorry for the Windows a Windows sound came up. There's 3 types of jump point sizes: large, medium, and small. And as far as I know, that still exists in the game. It's in the star map currently, if you go to the website. And that you will likely, I think they designed it so you will likely be able to get to where you want to go to faster by using small jump points rather than large ones. So the larger ships will have to travel longer in maybe number of jumps rather than a smaller ship.
And that could be a good plus side for the solo players or the recon players for their fleets or whatever, like people who are flying solo. That could be a good upside. And on another point, as you said, it affects the solo experience a lot.
Yeah.
I think 10 minutes from one side of the solar system to the other might be a lot, but I think it's acceptable. I think
from one side of the solar system is fine.
To the other, exact opposite
but
side.
Not from 2 inner planets. That's where I have my issues. But that's me.
Yeah. I can understand that. So it changes from person to person. But the other issue I think that's being overlooked is entering and exiting the atmosphere. I think that's brutal. It's brutal on Hurston, and I think that needs a balance pass. Whatever happens, like, that needs a pass for sure.
And it's not only that; it's the second you get out of your ship. Let's say you're a cargo hauler. Now I have to get out of my ship. I have to go up an elevator that takes 30 seconds. I get out of that elevator. I have to walk across a bunch of ship panels. Then I have to walk down some stairs. Then I walk through a hallway, and then I walk through another hallway, and then I walk through one more hallway. Then I go to a train, wait 60 seconds for it to come, wait 30 seconds for it to take off, wait another 45 seconds for it to get to where I need to go. Then I have to walk through one more hallway, then another hallway, then one more stairs. Then I can go to the admin office and sell my cargo.
And in the last hallway, you have Chris Roberts waiting for you.
And then you crash
Yeah,
and
right
lose
when you see him.
everything.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, like there are a lot of steps from A to Z, and I can understand why they are in right now. But from a technical perspective, I think simplifying these later on should be possible.
I mean, dude,
But
just
there
put
are
the
a couple
panel
of
at
couple
the
of things.
starport. That's my solution to that problem right there. There should just be a panel at
mean,
the
even-
starport to sell your cargo. That's where when you come to a port to bring cargo, where do you handle it? You handle it at the port. You don't handle it where you live at your house. That's where you're handling it right now at Hurston. You're handling it under your home.
Yeah.
That makes no
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Sorry.
I mean,
I'm ending my rant. It
can
has
even-
nothing to do with the solo experience. Let's get back on topic. But my God, I hate that so much.
I mean, at the end, you should be able to use your mobiGlass too. But anyway,
Yeah.
on back to the solo experience. I want to also like talk about like a few of the mechanics coming up next year that will aid in the solo experience, but it will also tie into the multiplayer experience in a way that we've seen in Elite Dangerous with the fuel rats. Well, I think they were called, and I think we'll see similar behaviors.
Oh my God, the
from
repairing.
the community.
Like you can repair each other.
Exactly.
Dude, there's so many cool things.
And those like they might seem solo, but you know and they will be at times solo because you will be able to repair NPC ships too, right?
Yeah.
So if there's an all down the NPC ship, you'll go repair that. But again, the excitement of Star Citizen doesn't come from this expected universe. Like it should be that sometimes you're running into a player that you're repairing, right? It's just that little bit of difference can make every loop much more exciting. And I think the repair, the salvage, and other mechanics like that will keep pushing solo professions a bit further along than they are, just like we saw with mining. And of course, when we talk about exploration and science and farming, I mean, I don't expect them anytime. Like I'm expecting them 2021 and beyond, like way closer.
And
to
those
the,
are definitely more of the
release.
solo player gameplay,
They're fully, like they're much more solo dedicated.
right? Farming on your ship on your own out in the middle of nowhere, exploring the universe as much as you can. I mean, I still not sure what to expect from Star Citizen Exploration. I don't think anybody really knows for sure yet, but
there is a lot of potential in exploration and in solo exploration because even Stanton, like if you would say, if Star Citizen would be just a one system game, you could put so much content because there's so much space. Like we don't understand how much space there is in Stanton. You could be exploring bits and pieces like hundreds of thousands, and it would even get bored if they did it right.
And I think that's the argument they're going to make when we don't end up with as many systems as we expect.
Yeah, like I mean, finding an interesting asteroid with interesting minerals, finding this outlaw pirate base that's hidden from radar, going through some space anomalies, and like finding, I don't know, just randomly finding this signal, and you're jumping there, and it's this weird alien-looking pyramid. Like the stuff you can do
it's a Thargoid.
is limitless. It's a alien flower coming at you. There's like a lot of potential there, and I loved Elite's new exploration mechanics. I was watching another person play it, and
you were watching
like,
another streamer, ASN.
Yeah, I'm cheating on you. Yeah, and it was. I think the SC team can look at them and kind of take some good ideas, and I'm pretty sure the ED team looked at SC mining and took some good ideas with their latest update.
Of course.
And both games I would be better for it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I hope they do more of it. But yeah, I mean, I think we're going to hear a lot more about Elite Dangerous with our next caller. Do you have anything else you want to add before I bring him on?
I mean, yeah, I'm really excited about like this year. And this is not. I'm not gonna say this is gonna be the year.
You just did it, dude. You just said it. I just say I'm not gonna say it, and then I just leave it there. You said the words. So.
Yeah. I mean,
you ruined it for us.
Even if they get one profession, it's gonna be great. And just thinking about two is really cool. So I don't want to put a log in the hype train, but I'm just gonna like casually throw a small log into the furnace of the hype train
All right, man.
for the start of 2019.
Put some kindling in
All right.
there. All right.
All
A
right.
little bit of kindling.
Take
All right, ASN.
take
Take care.
care.
Have a good one, bud.
later.
Thanks for the call. All right, Talung, you are on Answer the Call. Welcome, Talung.
Hello, Mr. Drake. How
Hello,
are you,
Mr.
sir?
Talung. How are you?
Good, good.
Glad
And
to have you on the
I'm
show.
not going to open with Elite.
I'm surprised. Well, I think we'll get to it though, most likely, right?
Yeah, there is some stuff that Elite that will illustrate the point.
Okay.
But essentially, my point with this whole thing is, no, they shouldn't cater for the solo player.
Okay. You
Star
would
Citizen is
are
a massively multiplayer game.
Yeah.
Massively multiplayer. It is not a single player game. That's Squadron 42.
okay.
Look at a game that did that, Soital,
Mhm.
MMO. It was the best single player MMO out there.
But it was a
But it
single player
wasn't an
MMO.
MMO.
Yeah. Well, what
You
if
didn't need other people.
what if I change the way I'm saying this? Okay, well, yeah, I think you should be able to play without needing other people. But I don't think you should experience the full Star Citizen experience by playing solo. But I do think it's important to have an enjoyable solo experience. You think that's fair?
But they're already catering for that. You've got the was it the Pioneer, which is the mining ship?
The mining ship is the Prospector. Yep.
Yeah, you've got the Prospector. That's a single person mining ship. The
got the
Vulture,
Vulcan?
single person.
Or Vulture.
Or
Sorry.
is it the Vulture? Or
You
was it? Yeah,
you
it
had
is
it
the
right.
Vulture.
You had it right.
Yeah, which is a single person salvage ship.
Yep.
So you've got these single Herald, single person data run and data collector. You've got the freelancers, single person traders. So
they could be
it's all
because the
there.
Herald has 2 seats. I mean, I think you can
well, the
argue
Herald
that
is a single.
it's a single pilot, but it does have a seat in the back where they manage the stuff. And the freelancer has 4 seats. But could it be flown solo with a small crew, NPCs, or could it just be flown and you handle it all yourself, just be less efficient? Yes, absolutely. So like
and
they
that's
they
my
could be
point.
solo player, like solo players could use those ships, whereas like in Idris, it would be ridiculous. So continue your point, but I just wanted to make sure that we were like clear on.
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
think the Idris and those larger ships. Even I've got a Hammerhead, right? It's
Okay.
not a. I don't expect to ever be able to play that thing solo.
It would be boring.
Exactly, and besides not having the NPCs, it's just that's the type of ship that requires a crew. So something like that should really not be accessible to the solo player. And if they are pushing the solo experience, the solo players will want to do that solo, and they want to be as good as multiplayers, which is kind of where
purpose.
I'm saying you do that, you will destroy the multiplayer aspect of Star Citizen.
Okay.
The idea is to meet people, not to do everything.
Don't laugh at Zeus right now. Zeus is saying he was really disliking you. I like your opinion, and I think your opinion makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. But I'm not asking, like, I'm not in with my opinions. I'm not saying Star Citizen should cater to the solo experience. I'm not saying the solo experience should be as good as the multiplayer experience. What I'm saying is the solo experience should be a great gateway into the multiplayer experience, and I'm afraid it won't be.
Yeah, and there I agree with you. There needs to be a way to get a crew. Like when they first were talking about it, they were talking about the agent smithing.
Yeah.
That has to be there.
Okay.
And not going into travel times and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you want to play with your friends. You don't want to. We had it in WoW where somebody was on the other continent and they had to fly from one end to the other end, and then they had to go wait for boats and all that sort of stuff, and eventually get there. And that's already an hour gone.
Yeah, and that's the thing is
So
once that solo, because even how about this is even if you do have friends in the game and you are in Stanton and your friend is in another system that is far away, it won't. It's the solo. You're still kind of experiencing the game as a solo player on your way there. I don't know how I feel about agent smithing yet. I really don't know. Because part of me hates it, and part of me understands the point you're making and how it's like you can't avoid it if you want to play with your friends. Sometimes, you're gonna kind of have to. But at the same time, is if you're on that character, agent smithing, you're not gaining any reputation on your character. You're just playing with your friends, right?
well, I mean, okay, so let's use Elite as an example, because they actually do agent smithing with the
Yeah.
multi-crew.
Okay.
And basically, now, Star Citizen is a very compressed universe. It's
Mhm.
1/10 the size. It's going to have at most 100 systems, 120.
If we're lucky,
So
yeah.
it's, I mean, that's at most, right?
Yeah, that's
so
10 years from now,
you are
perhaps.
talking about a very, very compressed thing. So they're trying to go for non-instance. So everybody's going to be in this, same sort of area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about having people around you all the time. One server, and at compressed centers.
Yeah.
Elite's 400 billion stars and star systems literally takes you weeks of real-time hours to get from one end to the other end.
And
And
the only Elite Dangerous stream that I have ever been engaged in my entire life was Bad News Baron when he was traveling to the black hole in the middle. Or like the
That
center
shows
of the
a-
universe, right? That's the only
Yep.
time I was ever engaged in an Elite Dangerous stream, and he was literally just jumping, fuel scooping, jumping, fuel scooping, and experiencing, exploring and learning about space as he went. It was very cool.
I find that the Elite Dangerous exploring to be ultra boring, but that's just me.
Yeah, but just for
I'm
that
actually hoping
experience.
for a lot more in Star Citizen.
Yeah.
But anyway, take that point right now. He's traveled weeks to get to the black hole.
Uh-huh.
Right. So some of his friends come on and say, "Oh, we're going to do this combat against the Thargoids alien race and stuff like that. Do you want to join us?" You can say, "Yeah, sure. I'll log into one of your ships, multi-crew with you."
Yeah.
So, it's not like, oh, okay, let's wait for 3 weeks for you to get back and then we can play. No, I can just agent smith straight into your ship, multi-crew with you, and we can go do that.
Yeah. And that's where like Elite is more gamified, and I love that Star Citizen wants to be as realistic as possible, but man.
But you were complaining about parking your ship, then traveling on trains and buses and
Yeah, of course.
upstairs and elevators and all that sort of stuff to just
Exactly.
go serve your stuff.
It's annoying.
That is all the immersion, which I think is way too much.
Yep.
You remember, at the end of the day, you are playing a game.
Yeah.
The idea about a game is to have fun.
Yeah.
If spending all your time running from one end to the other, that's not fun.
It's not fun for you. It's not fun for me. I don't think it's fun for a majority of people. I do see occasionally people being like, I love that. And it's like, well, are you going to love it 2 years from now? When you're actually trying to make... that's the thing is there's no progression to be made in Star Citizen really yet. But when you're actually trying to make progression in the game and actually trying to get somewhere and actually trying to achieve a goal, are you going to like that? So like for me, somebody said that's not poor city design. That's not poor game design. Well, for me personally, the travel times is poor game design. The city design is also poor, and I hope they learn from that experience with Hurston, and they may not. I don't know. But I do think Hurston wasn't designed as efficiently as it possibly could be, and I hope they learn from their issues. But yeah, I mean, that's not like when I see people make those comments, it's like, well, that's not the experience you're going to be enjoying when you're actually trying to play the game. You know, I think like a viewer just said, "I'm in no rush." Okay, um, that's fine, but I think most of the players are actually going to want to progress in Star Citizen and do it in a reasonable amount of time. You know, but you can't
Yeah,
satisfy
and
everybody, obviously.
Yeah, and I'm exactly the same way. It's like, I want to get in, I want to do stuff. I don't want to spend my time running from one side of the city to the other side of the city or waiting for trains.
And I think you're in
And that's kind of one of the things that really annoyed me is how many resources they spent on getting the trails to run on rails when an animated loading screen would have done the same thing.
Yeah, but then they can't say there's no loading screen.
Yeah, but I mean, that's, at least got plenty of loading screens into everything, and it doesn't take away from the immersion of the game.
Yeah, it's still a very immersive game, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it's the same sort of thing as you're saying with the landing on the planets.
I would have. I still to this day
nuts.
would have been fine
It
with a
is nuts.
cutscene. To this day, I still would have been fine. I do love landing on the moons. It's for now. We have one planet. It has a thick, nasty atmosphere, and maybe other ones will be better. Maybe they'll learn from Hurston and maybe cut it in half, whatever. But for me, the going down to moons, I enjoy that experience. And I've enjoyed that experience for as long as we've had it, which means I don't think I'm going to stop enjoying that experience. I'm just worried about the kind of, how Hurston is, and is that going to be the norm for planets with an atmosphere like our own? But yeah, let's get back on topic. Let's get back on topic because we got onto the travel times again somehow. Like, I could not agree with you more that you can't make Star Citizen for the solo player, but you definitely have to consider it as something important, and you have to design it so it's fun.
Well, at the same token, Squadron 42 is the single-player experience of Star Citizen.
To some extent, yes. But you always have to remember is not everybody wants to play with multi-crew people. Not everybody wants to play with VoIP. Not everybody, I think some people might want to travel around the Star Citizen quote-unquote universe and talk to NPCs and learn about the Star Citizen universe through those NPCs and never really engage with other people because you know what? People are assholes. People are assholes. They don't want to engage with them.
Yeah. While I agree with that, I mean, I majority spend a lot of time in solo mode.
Yeah.
And that's just just the nature of playing these games. I still want to be able to work with people and get people together. I don't want the game to just be as a solo player, I can do everything.
Yes. The solo player experience has to be
people.
a choice for you. You have to choose to play solo. You have to try to avoid other players.
Yeah, and at the same time, you have to accept that if you're going on the solo way, a lot of stuff is going to be out of your reach. Yeah. And that's what a lot of solo players don't want. They want to do everything solo. I mean, wow, look at that.
They have to
That's
accept
another one
that.
where all of a sudden, you could, from having to do the 40-man raids, all of a sudden it's down to 6-man for a raid. And it's like, that just ruins the entire experience of, I mean, I remember those 40-man raids. That was a ton of fun. It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it was a ton of fun. And I met a lot of people being forced to do that.
Yes. And that's the thing about Star Citizen where, for me, you should not be, okay, you shouldn't be allowed to do every single bit of gameplay you want with or without other players. You should be able to mine, you should be able to salvage, you should be able to repair, you should be able to bounty hunt, but you're not going to get the same experience as doing it in a Reclaimer with all your friends or doing it in an Orion with all your friends. Right? So for me, it's hard to compare WoW, because Caman mentioned WoW as well, where you can't compare the two as being the same, because you shouldn't be locked out of content in Star Citizen because you're a single player. You should be able, you maybe shouldn't be able to experience mining on an epic scale, or killing 100 Vandal or whatever, but you still should be able to fight a Vandal, mine a rock, salvage a ship. Right? Are we on the same page with that?
Yeah, and that's what I said at the beginning. There are ships for the solo player to do a lot of stuff with that. There's not going to be a ship for the solo player to be a pocket carrier. That's not going to happen, and it shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Can a solo player fly a Constellation, which is a 4-person ship? Sure. Why not? They can hire NPC crew for it. Are they going to be as effective as a multiplayer? Absolutely not. And that's where I think it's, it needs to stay. It cannot be that it is better to play solo than it is multiplayer, because it is a multiplayer game. And that's kind of, where I see the danger of a lot of these, the solo, let me call it solo agenda, tends to lead, is they're trying to bring the solo up to the multiplayer thing, which is kind of, which I don't think it ever should be.
Okay, that's fair.
And so it's kind of a different, it's a different take on the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all right, Talung. I think we'll end the show here. We had a nice long one today, hour and a half almost. But thank you. I think everybody really played off of each other in the show. And again, Talung, thank you so much. I'm going to let you go now. I really appreciated the call.
Thanks.
And we're going to play some Elite soon together, right? I'm going to message you sometime this week.
I need to show you the mic.
Yes, I'll message you this week. I plan on playing this week with you.
All right, mate.
All right,
Catch you later.
Bye. Yeah, I thought this was a really, really, really good answer to the call, where everybody had their kind of own opinion on what the solo experience would be and how it should be and how it should, and how it's not in a bad state, how I kind of felt it was at first. And I'm really kind of happy where this show went. So thank you so much for everybody that called. That was really great. If any of you guys want to join in on the show in the future, if you're watching on the Twitch channel, you can join our Discord anytime from 10 a.m. until probably somewhere around 11 Eastern time. If you guys are watching on YouTube, come and join live on twitch.tv/twerk17 and join the Discord channel, and which will be linked in the description below. And yeah, and give your opinions. I actually don't have a topic for next week. I'm going to have to look through and pick one. So I'll probably post it in the comments below of this video. And again, if you guys are enjoying this series, make sure you give this series a like. Comment below on what your Star Citizen solo experience would be like and how maybe Star Citizen can improve it and make it better for you. And yeah, make sure you subscribe below for more videos like this in the future. All right? Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye, everybody.